Consecration to Saint Joseph. This week we look ahead at the next week, realizing that Joseph, coming from a unique background, having unique gifts and talents, has special care for different groups of people. And so with that, we see that in a particular way, he has a care for us and the people in our community. Before we enter into those specific sorts of groups that Joseph has care for, let's look at the virtue of Joseph. Right? He's a man of great faith. It's a word that we use so often, but what does it really mean? It says that faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. How often in the life of Joseph was he called to trust Jesus? There was no manual on how to be the foster father of the Son of God. And yet, because of his docility and his openness to the Lord, he becomes a witness to us of what it means to really have assurance and hope that the Lord is who he said he is, and that he's going to take care of us. Joseph, too, is a wonderful example of patience, waiting for God to slowly unveil the fullness of his plan. Or imagine the anxiety or the angst that we'd experience in trying to fly to Egypt to escape Herod. To realize that Joseph had so many opportunities where anxiety could have reigned, and yet he, through his docility, was able to be patient and wait for the plan of God to come to fruition. We're being called to the same level of patience in our own trials, realizing we don't have to do it on our own. Right? With Joseph, we strive for that sort of patience that waits hopefully in the God who has a plan for us, even in suffering. Now, we've seen throughout our reflections on St. Joseph that he is a good man, a man of virtue, a man with a very strong and particular sort of love. So we want to step forward and look at the compassion of Joseph. First and foremost, he has a compassion for the poor, realizing that the Holy Family was not well-to-do. The Holy Family was not given every material thing to be comfortable. Instead, they were a family that led a life of sacrifice. There's no room in the inn. And for someone like Joseph to have those experiences, you imagine, from his place in heaven, he would have a particular love for those who are in need. We too are called to that same sort of love for the poor. And so we look to Joseph to see, how could I show kindness and mercy to those who are most in need in my own community? He also was a handyman. He worked hard as a carpenter. With that, he might have a particular compassion for those who might feel overworked, especially those mothers and fathers who make countless sacrifices to provide for their family in need. So if you feel a heaviness in the work that you do, know that you're not alone. Know that you're seen by Joseph, and he cares for you even in the midst of the heavy work that you've been called to do. Beyond the incredible moments that we see of St. Joseph caring for his family in flight or through his deep work as a carpenter, he also would have been just dad. He would have had a particular care for his home, for his family in the simple moments. And so maybe the thing that defines you most is your experience as a family unit. Maybe it doesn't look as pleasant as you wish it would. Maybe the family is not as cohesive or as patient with one another. In that moment, we might call on Joseph to just be a mediator or an intercessor, that he might ask the Lord to bless us in our particular need amongst our domestic life. Joseph understands purity in a way that most fathers wouldn't. Right? Being called to be espoused to the Blessed Virgin Mary allows him the perspective of one who knows what it looks like to care for a family unit while still entering into the beauty of virginity and purity for the sake of God. He understands the sacrifice on both ends. He also knows the joys on both ends. And so with that, we have a confidant, someone who we can trust, someone who we can speak to about our experiences, no matter where we find ourselves on that spectrum. The following few days speak about Joseph coming to the aid of those who are afflicted or sick or dying. To realize in those situations where we're in need, who do we want most in life? I imagine when we're sick, we might call on our mom or dad. In a moment of loss, we want those who are closest to us to be there to comfort us. At the end of our life, in the time of dying, we'd hope to have someone who knows us deeper than anyone else. like a foster father. Joseph wants to be present in the midst of our suffering. So often when we are suffering, we don't want to cry out because we don't want to be a burden. We don't want to bother anyone, or maybe we have the pride of thinking we can handle it on our own. He desires to be a part of our experience. He desires to be in the midst of the messy. And he just wants to be our Father. What a gift he's been to us. And he desires to continue to be for us in the most difficult moments that might be upcoming. We also recognize that there is incredible need in our church. The evil one is not a fan of us. He desires to steal our peace and our joy. He desires to sow division in this bride of Christ. Joseph, as a father is a protector. He has strength beyond our understanding. And so we ask him, we beg of him, to be present at any place where there might be division in our own heart, in our families, in our communities, realizing that with his intercession, we will be unified with the heart of Christ. And that's the goal. As we finish up these last few weeks of the consecration, we just continue to ask St. Joseph to draw near to us, that we might have the eyes to see him, to see his love, to see the love of Mary and their son Jesus, to recognize that he wants to come to our aid. He wants to be an integral part of our work and our family life and our pain. There is no exception. You are not a burden. Joseph cares for you. Draw near, Joseph. Come to our aid.